Hey everyone, welcome to a deep dive where we'll be exploring a world of muscle, sweat, and dedication.
Bodybuilding.
You got it. We'll uncover the history, the science, and yeah, maybe even bust some myths about building those impressive physiques.
Sounds like a plan.
So if you're ready to pump up your knowledge about this unique pursuit, you're definitely in the right place.
Let's get started.
All right, so we've got two awesome sources guiding us today. First up, we've got excerpts from Bodybuilding Wikipedia.
For that historical context.
Exactly. We'll trace bodybuilding's evolution from its early days to the trends we see today.
And to get into the nuts and bolts of how those muscles actually grow, we'll be tapping into How to Build Muscle Fast, the 15-step guide for men and women.
A practical guide for those wanting to, well, build muscle fast.
Exactly.
It's-
So, are you ready to travel through time?
I'm ready. Let's go back to the beginning, way back. Because bodybuilding, well, it has some pretty surprising origins.
Oh, it goes way further back than most people think. Long before those fancy gyms and protein shakes we see today, ancient civilizations were already celebrating strength and physique. Think ancient Egypt.
Really?
Yeah, and Greece. Even Tamilakam in India, they had these amazing stone-lifting competitions showcasing power and, of course, a physique honed by, well, pretty functional training.
So like the original strongmen.
Exactly. They weren't exactly aiming for a six-pack, though.
More about practical strength, I guess. The kind you need to, lift and move those heavy objects.
Right. But it laid the groundwork for what would become the sport of bodybuilding we know today.
And speaking of groundwork, we can't forget Eugen Sandow, the father of modern bodybuilding. He brought muscle display into the spotlight, like really into the spotlight back in the late 1800s.
He was a showman. More than just muscle, his performances were theatrical, captivating audiences with his physique and posing routines.
Talk about turning strength into a spectacle. And you know what's amazing? Even Thomas Edison was fascinated. He actually filmed Sandow and another early American champion, Al Traylor.
Really?
Yep. Creating, get this, the first bodybuilding movie.
Wow, that's a fun fact.
It is.
Yeah.
It just shows how this fascination with physique, well, it took root pretty early on.
Yeah, and Sandow's influence went beyond just the stage. He was a businessman, too, marketing the first mass-produced exercise equipment.
Oh, wow. So not just building muscles, building an industry.
Precisely. Dumbbells, spring pulleys, tension bands, all bearing the Sandow name.
Huh. He made fitness accessible to people beyond those strongman exhibitions. That was a pretty big shift.
It was. And from those beginnings, bodybuilding evolved into the structured, competitive sport we see today.
Right. And speaking of competition, those early exhibitions paved the way for the iconic contests we know now. Mr. America, Mr. Universe.
And, of course, the ultimate title, Mr. Olympia.
Exactly. These competitions became the proving grounds for aspiring bodybuilders, constantly refining their physiques and those posing routines.
And as the sport grew, organizations like the IFBB, the International Federation of Bodybuilders, emerged.
It's like any other sport, really.
Right. You have governing bodies setting standards, creating those different levels of competition, pushing athletes to new heights.
Exactly. And of course, let's not forget about the women who shattered those traditional notions of beauty and strength.
The rise of female bodybuilding.
Pioneers like Rachel McLeish, the first Ms. Olympia, and Bev Francis, who, transitioned from powerlifting to bodybuilding, showing incredible strength. And speaking of iconic figures, no bodybuilding conversation is complete without mentioning the golden age, the 1970s.
Aye, yes. Pumping iron, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Exactly. This era brought bodybuilding into the mainstream and, of course, introduced a whole new layer of complexity.
The rise of anabolic steroid use.
Yeah, that's something we'll definitely delve into a bit later. But for now, let's shift gears.
Okay, where are we headed?
Let's talk about how those incredible physiques are actually built. Our How to Build Muscle Fast guide, it breaks it down into 3 key factors:
Let's hear them.
progressive tension overload, metabolic stress, and muscle damage.
So, the building blocks, literally.
Huh. Okay, so let's unpack these. Progressive tension overload. That means constantly challenging those muscles, right? Ditch those comfy 5-pound dumbbells.
You got it. You need to consistently challenge those muscles to trigger growth.
So keep pushing yourself with heavier weights. What about metabolic stress?
That's that pump you feel during a workout.
That,
It's a sign those muscles are working hard, helps stimulate growth.
love that feeling. Like your muscles are saying, hey, we're making progress.
Exactly. And finally, muscle damage.
Oh, yeah. That post-workout soreness.
Right. That's a sign you've created tiny tears in those muscle fibers, and when they repair, you get stronger.
So breakdown to rebuild, stronger each time, like sculpting a masterpiece but with your own body.
That's a great analogy.
Now, let's talk workout design. What kind of plan would be effective for, say, someone like me aiming for a balanced physique?
Well, first, you've got to consider training frequency. How often you hit each muscle group. Research suggests that training a muscle group 2 to 3 times a week is more effective than just once.
So those classic chest day, leg day routines, maybe not the most efficient.
They can work, but they might not be optimal, especially for natural lifters.
So those who train without performance-enhancing substances, so more frequent targeted workouts. What about different workout splits? Like, what are the options?
There are tons. Full body workouts, upper-lower splits, push-pull legs. It's about finding what fits your schedule, your recovery needs, and of course your goals.
So I've got my training frequency figured out. I've got my split. What's next? How much weight? How many reps?
That's where volume comes in. It's the amount of work you're putting in.
Yeah.
Sets, reps, exercises for each muscle group.
More is always better, right?
Not necessarily. It's about finding the sweet spot. Too little volume, and you're not stimulating enough growth. Too much. You risk overtraining, which can actually hinder your progress.
It's all about balance, pushing yourself, but also listening to your body.
And giving it time to recover. Speaking of recovery, we can't forget the role of sleep.
Oh, is it really as important as they say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's during sleep that those muscles repair and rebuild from all that hard work at the gym.
Skimping on sleep is like what? Shortchanging your gains.
Exactly. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep every night. It's essential.
Wow, I never realized sleep was that crucial. All right, so we've trained, we've rested, time to fuel those muscles. Bring on the protein shakes.
Well, protein is definitely key, but it's not the whole story. You need the right balance of macronutrients. Protein, carbohydrates, and fats to support muscle growth and your overall health.
So not just about pounding protein all day long. What else should we consider?
It's about creating a calorie surplus, eating slightly more calories than you burn to give your body the energy it needs to build new muscle.
Calories are key, but specifically, how much protein are we talking about?
The general recommendation is around 0.8 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. But of course, it can vary depending on your needs and how intensely you're training.
Got it. Calorie surplus, enough protein. Anything else we're missing on the nutrition front?
Pre- and post-workout meals can also make a difference. Help optimize your results.
Oh, the magic formula.
It's simpler than you think. A meal with a good balance of protein and carbs about 1 to 2 hours before and after your workout.
So I don't need those fancy, expensive supplements marketed as the ultimate pre-workout fuel.
While some supplements can be helpful, they're not a replacement for a well-rounded diet. Whole, nutrient-dense foods first.
So supplements are like the cherry on top, not the whole sundae.
Precisely. Focus on the foundation first.
Are there any supplements that are actually worth considering?
A few have some solid research backing them. Whey protein powder can be a convenient way to up your protein intake. And creatine has been shown to enhance strength and performance.
Creatine! Isn't that what all the super jacked guys at the gym are always talking about?
It can be helpful, but it's not a magic potion. It works best when combined with, a good training program and a balanced diet.
Right. So supplements can help, but no shortcuts to success. Hard work, consistency, and, of course, proper nutrition.
Absolutely. There are no quick fixes in bodybuilding. It's a journey that requires dedication, patience, and a willingness to push yourself.
Well said. And speaking of pushing ourselves, I think it's time to address a topic that's often surrounded by misinformation and a lot of controversy.
You're talking about performance-enhancing substances.
Yes.
Steroids.
Yeah. Ready to dive into that?
Let's do it. It's a topic that deserves an informed and nuanced discussion.
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it? The use of anabolic steroids and other performance-enhancing substances is, well, a reality in bodybuilding.
And it has been for decades.
Yeah, for decades. It's a topic that can be, pretty loaded, right? Often shrouded in secrecy and sometimes, I think, demonized. But it's important to approach this conversation, I think, with a level head.
Absolutely. We need to be informed, right?
Mm.
These substances, they can lead to some pretty significant increases in muscle mass.
And strength.
But they come with potential health risks.
Yeah, a trade-off.
A trade-off. And one that deserves, I think, careful consideration.
we're talking about some serious stuff here, right? Liver damage,
Hormonal imbalances.
cardiovascular problems, and I mean, that's not even mentioning the potential psychological effects. It's definitely not something to take lightly.
You're right. And it's not just those physical risks either. There's a whole ethical debate, swirling around steroid use and bodybuilding.
It raises questions about fairness,
Fairness in competition.
the true spirit of the sport.
And the immense pressure that athletes face to achieve those ideal physiques.
Right. It's like this constant tension between pushing those limits of, human potential.
And the consequences.
The consequences of those extreme measures, it feels like a gray area
It is. And it's a debate that's probably going to continue
for a long time.
for a long time.
Okay.
But the most important thing, I think, is to be aware of the risks, the ethical considerations, and to just approach the topic from an informed perspective.
Knowledge is power, especially when making decisions about, your own health and fitness journey. Now, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about a force that's had a massive impact on bodybuilding, especially in recent years.
Social media.
Social media.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
It is. On the one hand, it's created this incredible platform for people to share their fitness journeys, find inspiration,
Connect with the community.
connect with a community,
Yeah.
like-minded individuals.
Yeah, you have access to this global network of support and motivation all at your fingertips.
You can learn new techniques,
Discover new approaches,
different approaches to training.
see those incredible
Just
transformations
on your phone.
from the comfort of your own home.
Right.
You hit the nail on the head. It's been so empowering for so many people.
But there's that flip side, right?
There's that flip side.
Social media has contributed to some, let's say, less than ideal aspects of bodybuilding culture,
Like what?
like unrealistic physique expectations,
Constant comparisons.
the pressure to achieve a certain look.
It's all amplified online.
It can be really dangerous, especially for those who are, newer to bodybuilding or struggling with body image issues.
It's easy to get caught up in those perfectly filtered photos.
Right.
And then you start to feel inadequate.
It's like this toxic blend of inspiration and pressure.
All wrapped up in a highlight reel of shredded physiques.
It's hard to separate the real from the curated, right? Especially for someone just starting out.
That's why it's crucial to be mindful of what you're consuming online.
Right.
And to remember that social media often presents, a distorted view of reality.
You're seeing the best angles,
The perfect lighting,
the peak moments.
not the whole picture.
Right. And we need to remember that. We need to focus on our own individual progress, our achievements.
Don't get caught up comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, find that balance. Use social media for motivation, connection.
Be aware of those pitfalls.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to another important point, I think.
That's that
Transparency,
transparency.
especially regarding steroid use online.
Yeah, it's easy to get swept up in those incredible, before and after transformations.
But remember,
But not everyone is playing by the same rules.
right, transparency is key. If someone is using performance-enhancing substances, they have a responsibility to be upfront about it
For their own health.
for their own health.
And to avoid misleading others.
Exactly. It's about honesty, accountability, promoting a healthy and informed approach to bodybuilding.
Online and offline.
Online and offline. Everyone's on their own journey. It's important to respect that.
It is. And, as we're talking about the importance of, honesty and being informed, it makes me think about another crucial aspect of bodybuilding that I think often gets overlooked.
Oh, what's that?
Mental health.
Oh, you're so right. It's easy to get caught up in the physical aspects,
Right.
but mental well-being is just as important.
Maybe even more so.
Maybe even more so.
Yeah. Bodybuilding can be incredibly demanding, both physically and mentally.
It requires discipline,
Dedication.
a relentless pursuit of self-improvement,
It can take a toll on anyone.
no matter your experience.
Yeah, it's like this, unspoken pressure kicker.
And it's so.
And it's something we need to acknowledge and address.
The pressure to achieve certain physiques, the constant comparisons, the scrutiny
from yourself.
from yourself, from others,
It can contribute to anxiety, depression.
eating disorders.
It's so important to remember that your worth is not tied to your physique.
It's about finding
It's about finding that healthy balance between pushing yourself.
and being kind to yourself.
Exactly. And if you are struggling, please know that you're not alone. There are resources out there.
Reaching out for help is a sign of strength.
It is.
There are therapists, coaches, and support groups specifically for athletes
Who can provide.
who can provide guidance and support.
Right. Taking care of your mental health should always be a priority.
Absolutely.
Now let's zoom out a bit and look at how this pursuit of bodybuilding has evolved over time.
Yeah, it's fascinating how the very definition of an ideal physique has changed throughout history, hasn't it?
It has. What started as, a display of like raw functional strength has transformed into something much more nuanced.
And sometimes unattainable.
Right.
It makes you wonder how our perception of beauty and strength has been shaped by these changing ideals.
From those bulky mass monsters of the 80s.
To the lean, symmetrical physiques we see today.
The goalposts are always moving.
They do seem to keep shifting. And it raises a really important question. How do we define those ideals for ourselves?
What does an ideal physique mean to you, personally?
It's something worth reflecting on.
Yeah. Tune out the noise,
The trends
the external pressure.
really connect with your own values and goals.
What does a healthy, strong, sustainable physique
Look and feel.
look and feel like to you, personally?
It's a personal journey, a quest for self-improvement that goes beyond just the physical.
It's about discovering what your body is capable of
Pushing those boundaries,
and ultimately celebrating.
celebrating the incredible machine that is the human body.
It really is amazing, to think about how bodybuilding has evolved.
Right.
From those early strong men to, well, the diverse and complex world it is today.
We've covered a lot, haven't we?
We have, from the science behind muscle growth,
The influence of social media.
the importance of mental well-being.
A journey, isn't it?
It really is a journey of self-discovery, physically and mentally.
And like any journey, it's essential to have the right tools and knowledge to, navigate that path ahead.
Absolutely. And whether you're a seasoned lifter or just starting out,
There's always more to learn.
there's always more to explore in the world of bodybuilding.
That's where informed decision-making is so important, right?
Mm.
From choosing a training program that, actually aligns with your goals,
To understanding.
to understanding nutrition and supplementation.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
It really is.
I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from our deep dive today.
What do you think it is?
It's not just about lifting weights.
It's about the approach.
Approaching this pursuit with, a curious mind,
Constantly seeking knowledge.
making choices that support.
Both your physical and mental well-being.
Exactly.
Well said.
And, bodybuilding, it's a journey,
Not a destination.
not a destination. There'll be challenges, setbacks,
Plateaus along the way.
but with dedication,
Consistency, a willingness to learn and adapt.
you can achieve incredible things.
You can.
Yeah.
It's about pushing your boundaries.
Discovering your potential and ultimately, defining what success means to you.
And that might be completely different from someone else's definition.
And that's okay.
And that's more than okay.
Right.
It's your journey, your body, your goals. Embrace the process. Celebrate your progress.
Never stop striving.
Never stop striving for that best version of yourself.
I love that. And it's a reminder that, bodybuilding, it's about so much more than aesthetics.
It is.
It's about pushing your limits, building resilience,
Cultivating a deep understanding.
appreciation for what your body can achieve.
Exactly.
It's a celebration of human potential.
Physical and mental.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up our deep dive here, I want to leave you with one final thought.
All right, I'm all ears. Parting wisdom.
Yeah. Remember that bodybuilding, like anything, is a continuous journey
Of learning.
of learning, growth, and self-discovery.
Stay curious.
Stay informed.
Most importantly.
Enjoy the ride.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of bodybuilding. We covered a lot today, but there's always more to explore.
There is.
So keep learning, keep pushing yourself, and never underestimate the power of the human body.
Until next time, happy lifting.
Happy lifting, everyone!